Hey there everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of the Switch Report. I'm here today with some brand new equipment and a brand new review to match. The first review that is on the Switch Report channel. So, we're taking a look today at a game called Airheart, Tales of Broken Wings. Now this was sent over to me by the developer Blind Flug Studios. I've had it for a few days, I've been playing it, enjoyed what I've been playing. For the most part, some things I didn't enjoy so much, but we're going to actually dive into some gameplay. I'm going to explain some elements of the game to you and express my opinion whether or not I believe the game is worth picking up or not. Alright, so let's dive right into it. First issue that I noticed when I booted the game up initially was the button layout. So I don't know about you guys, but the Switch has pretty much become my main system, and other than Kingdom Hearts coming out and Red Dead and some of those really heavy hitters, I pretty much haven't touched my PS4 Pro or my Xbox One X since they have released. But I noticed immediately that the B button is now the select button and it acts as an A button for me because, you know, usually A is the select button, not so here. They are actually making it where A is the back button and B is your select button. Now if you're coming over from Xbox, this will be pretty familiar for you, but it's not so familiar for me anymore because as soon as I pick up a Nintendo console, I expect that flipped button layout. But with that being said, we're gonna hop right into it. So in this game, you're presented with two modes, and first, you have the story mode, which tells the story of Amelia, which is actually the main character of the game. You're presented with the cinematics that have narration in the beginning, and they're not really cinematics, they're more like stills presented in a 3D environment. But it's narrated over, and the narration is pretty good. It's done by Amelia herself, and the story goes that she was sent there by her father because her father believed it was a better way for her to grow up, that she would have a better life in the city and the sky. But she learned as she got older that things were not so bright there either. That people were struggling up there just like people were down here. So she took up being a mechanic, fixing people's planes as well as building her own, and doing sky fishing, which tends to be the way of life there. So her initial goal, or her final goal really, is to actually reach the sky well, which is this large fish at the highest level of the Sky City. And it's said that whoever gets it will become one of the richest people alive. So that's her goal because she wants to make her father proud since she hasn't seen him since she came to that Sky City. It's pretty nice backstory. They don't dive super far into it, but it presents groundwork for starting the game, and then you get these other cutscenes throughout that will actually give you more reason to finish. And it's actually a pretty well told story. I almost wish that there was actually more of it though, because I'll actually show you a section that shows all the cinematics, and there's not that many of them. But we also have party mode, which is really fun. If you want to dive into that, it's 4 people, and you all control a very large Zeppelin. It's a lot of fun, and if you have even 2 people, it's a lot of fun. That's how I played it, but 4 people is perfectly fine. So let's just hop right into some of the gameplay. We're going to go to the story mode, and I'm going to show you how everything is laid out. So here is what I was talking about with the cinematics. If you actually go to the cinematics, you'll actually see it's these stills that are obviously 3D rendered. And the game is not super graphically intensive. It's not low poly, but it's got this cell shaded aesthetic. And it's pretty pleasing for the most part. I have noticed that I don't know what what resolution it's at. But frame rate is actually very solid. So that's how you're presented. That is the Skywell right there. And we're going to go ahead and hop right into that satisfying gameplay. Alright. So As soon as you hit continue, you're presented with the workshop. This is pretty much how the game starts anyways. After that cinematic, you just start right here. And then you're greeted with a tutorial and such. But you have your workbench, which is where you can craft items. I'm terrible at it. You have your shop, where you can actually go through and you can purchase items for planes. And there's a good few to choose from. It's not a ton, but it's enough where like they're pricey enough to where it'll take you a decent amount of gameplay to finally get through it. And it's nice that you can purchase these parts and you don't have to finish a whole plane. You can actually do part by part. That's why each one of those planes are broken down into 4 parts. The body, the propeller, the weapon, and the skin of the airplane. Alrighty. So, we're going to go ahead and go to the hangar, and this is where you could customize the airplane. You can flip-flop between all these different body styles, and your different propellers and such. But, this is my layout right now. It's not super big because I'm trying to actually save up money and get to a point where I can afford like one of the more expensive planes. So we're actually just gonna go ahead and fly out. And first thing that I actually noticed about this game is I didn't actually expect it to be a top-down, which doesn't bother me. It's just I expected it to be almost a third-person dogfighting game when I was looking on the store. But it is what it is. It's still plenty fun. It controls fairly well. So what happens is you use the left analog stick in order to fly, and then you use the right to move the cursor that's around you, and that is actually your aiming reticle for when you shoot. So the right trigger will fire, and then the left trigger, which I will find a fish and show you guys, actually activates a grapple hook. Bam, there we go. Oh, gotcha. Okay, so there we are. So as you can see here, I've grappled the fish, and you can actually pull anything along with you, and it doesn't have to just be used for fish. You can actually use it to anchor yourself to different things in the environment, such as this rock, or you can also use it whenever you're fighting an enemy. As soon as you latch on to an enemy, they won't be able to attack you. You can just fire at will. So the point of the game is to actually fly around and then collect these fish. And the fish, as you'll see up in the very top middle of the screen to the right of our weapon, is what I assume is fish oil. I assume that is the currency, and they never fully explain like what that currency is, but I just go ahead and assume that it's fish oil because we're collecting fish. It looks like a drop. That's just how I explain it. But once you fly into one of these elevators, it sends you up a level, and you just keep going higher, and obviously it's almost got this roguelite element where you will go higher, and as you go higher, things get more and more dangerous, but you can back out at any time. But if you die while you're out on a run, you'll lose everything from that flight, and then you'll just restart. You don't lose any prior progress like upgrades and stuff, but you will lose everything that you've collected through all your levels up. And bam, just collected those guys. One thing that I noticed that I really dislike is the sound in the game, honestly. The music's just kind of plain, it's just kind of there. And the weapons themselves don't seem to have any oomph. I've seen 2 that have some oomph. It's a shotgun and a rocket launcher. Neither of which have a super loud sound, minus the rocket launcher. It has this super loud After Effects sound. But other than that, all the weapons just kind of feel weightless, I guess. And it doesn't seem to use a whole lot of the HD rumble that's inside of the Switch Pro controller. I'm not using a Switch Pro controller now, but I'm doing terribly at flying. But I'm not using the Pro controller right now, but I was using it for roughly 4 hours, and I still didn't feel much rumble. It was here and there, but not very much. Though that can be fixed. It could have been fixed with a day one patch, because I still haven't updated this game to its day one patch. But with that, the weapons just feel weak, even in the sound effects department. I mean, HD rumble can only do so much for a game. And they just didn't seem to use the HD rumble very much here, or sound effects very well. I mean, because the whole game, for the most part, in some parts it actually becomes completely silent, which is really bothersome. It almost feels like they had to cut a corner with the sound effects. But the gameplay is still there, and the gameplay is pretty solid. It's got a nice gameplay loop. I keep finding myself coming back to it more and more. Just because I wanna continue building that plane, and I want to get to that skywell eventually. What I'm trying to do is just go ahead and save up for the best plane in the whole game, and then just call it a day, so I can get that skywell. Because I am interested to see what they do with the story. Again, I haven't finished it. I've played roughly 5.5 hours, but it's pretty fun. I actually enjoyed a pretty good bit. There is some graphical glitches that I've noticed. Actually, you can see some of them happen. There was one that just happened where the color of the trees, like when your levels below, it'll actually change color. Like it'll flicker in and out as a different tree model. But I mean, that's not really a big deal, because that doesn't interrupt the gameplay itself. It's just something to note. It's pretty interesting to see. Other things that I have noticed is sometimes when you're on this pause screen where it pauses everything and comes closer, is sometimes like fish or even the models will start to just fidget. Now they do include a photo mode, but honestly it is not very good. It's pretty bare bones. Trying to do the depth of field, it works sometimes, and sometimes I have a lot of trouble with it. But I mean, you can still. One thing that I have also noticed is that trying to do the disable the GUI for the camera, sometimes you can totally mess up, because you click it, but it turns out that if you click the right analog, then it goes back to a side view from when you were paused. And then if you click the left analog, it goes into the depth of field mode. So it does mess me up here and there. But let's see if we can get a decent looking shot real quick. There we go. And click. Alright. So yeah. So you can do it like that, and it does do a pretty decent job, I'd say. I mean, it's nothing amazing, but it's not a very good photo mode in general. Like, we've seen games like Spider-Man and stuff present like this amazing photo mode. Mario Odyssey even. That game is incredible with its photo mode. I've seen some amazing stuff, and I've done some awesome stuff with it myself. But with that being said, we can go ahead and go back to the gameplay, and I'm actually going to show you what happens when you when you run low on health and you need to go back down to your workshop. So say we get in a lot of trouble, like say we start heading towards all the Sky Pirates, and we're just getting murdered, which I'm not, but say we would hold down on the D-pad, and it says returning home, and then you start flying down towards it really quick, towards your workshop. Your job is to dodge those islands and then land on the pad. And we successfully did that, and then you see right here, it gives you a summary of everything you collected, the fish that were collected, and then you get your total earnings. So then we could go back and we could go to our shop, and I'm gonna buy something on the cheaper side to show you guys like what happens with this stuff. We'll purchase this weapon. Bam. There we go. And that actually gives us a new weapon that we can attach to our, there we go, to our ship, and then you can just go right out start flying again, and rinse and repeat, collecting more upgrades, getting more ship parts, going higher. And as you get higher, once you get to certain levels, you'll unlock new cinematics and you'll trigger events. But again, guys, it's more of a grindy game. Just by seeing gameplay, I think that you guys can get a feel of whether or not this game is for you or not. And I enjoy it. I think it's $20 on the store. It may be more, it may be less. If it's more, I would say picking it up is probably questionable. But at $20, I do think it's decent if it looks like your cup of tea. For me, it's pretty good. I'm really hoping that I'll get around to finishing it. I've got a lot of stuff that I'm working on right now, and there's a lot of stuff to do. But there's also so many games that come out. I mean, we have Wargroove that comes out tomorrow. That's going to be incredible, and I'm hoping to show you guys some of that as well. But yeah, so that is about it, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed this look at Airheart. If I had to slap a number on this guy, just between 1 and 10, I would probably say that this game sits at a good 7.5. I mean, it is lackluster in the sound department. The photo mode isn't such a big deal. I'm not gonna knock it for a photo mode because that's kind of just a cherry on top of a good game. And I'm not gonna bring that into account, because as long as you can get a decent usable shot, that's all you really need from a photo mode. Anything better that's so in-depth like Spider-Man or Mario Odyssey is just cherry on top. But with that being said, guys, I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and leave your comment down below if you think that this game looks good to you and if you'll be picking it up. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because I upload videos like this every Wednesday and Thursday, and sometimes even more. Even more. That's more content. It's free. So is that subscribe button. So go ahead and leave a comment down below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll catch you next time. Switch Report out.